Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well folks, today is my 300th blog, and today I want to talk about an animator known as Richard Williams. For those who don't know who Richard Williams is, he is a Canadian/British animator, voice artist, and writer. Best known for serving as an animation director on Disney and Amblem's Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1988, which I think seems like something that I should look at later on my show. Anyway, Richard was also a film title sequence designer and animator. His most famous works in the field include the title sequences to What's New, Pussycat from 1965, and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum from 1966, as well as title and linking sequences in The Charge of the Light Brigade in 1968. Mr. Williams also animated the opening intros for the Return of the Pink Panther and the Pink Panther Strikes Again movies. However, for today's blog, I'll be blogging an animated film from my childhood, which not only did Richard Williams direct, but it also took a total of 29 years to put together. So let's get started. Released in Australia on September 23, 1993, and in North America on August 25, 1995, the movie is The Thief and the Cobbler. Now let's get started. When Tack accidentally upsets Zigzag the Vizier, the evil wizard drags him off to the royal palace, where Princess Yum Yum falls for the bashful boy and saves him from execution. Unfortunately, Zigzag plans to marry the princess in order to succeed her father, King Nod. Meanwhile, a street thief who is more interested in gold sets off with the protected 3 golden balls topping the palace. Together, Tack and Yum Yum attempt to retrieve them in order to prevent Zigzag and the One-Eye Army from conquering the city. So, what do I think of this movie? Well, to be honest, when I was little, I didn't really understand it at first. But as I was growing up, this movie became one of my favorite animated movies, and I think it's an underrated classic. But to further explain why I enjoy this movie, let's move on to Mustang Notes. Now, the movie is known for its long, troubled history. Due to independent funding and ambitiously complex animation, The Thief and the Cobbler was in and out of production for over 3 decades. It was finally placed into full production in 1988, when Warner Brothers agreed to finance and distribute the movie. Negotiations broke out when production went over budget and behind schedule. Warner Brothers pulled out, and a completion bond company assumed control of the movie. The film was re-edited and restructured by producer Fred Calvert without Williams' involvement, and released in Australia and South Africa as The Princess and the Cobbler in 1993. 2 years later, Miramax Films, at the time a subsidiary of Disney, released an even more heavily edited version of the movie in North America under the title Arabian Night. With The Thief and the Cobbler being in and out of production from 1964 until 1993, a total of 29 years, it surpassed the 20-year Genesis record previously held by Typhland in 1954. Now, since I'll be talking about the Miramax version in this video, due to the fact that that's the version I grew up with, the Miramax cut includes all changes made in the Allies' filmmaker's cut. In addition, several previously mute characters are given voices, most notably the thief, who narrates over all of his scenes in the form of an inner monologue. The Golden City in the movie is now referred to as Baghdad. Most scenes featuring the mighty one-eyed slave women in detail have been removed, although he can still be seen sitting on them. The sequence featuring the witch have been almost entirely removed, as is most of the climactic battle sequence, which had already been greatly shortened in the Allied cut. Plus, One-Eye's death is cut from the movie, though he can be heard crying, "My machine!" as the war machine burns to the ground, whereupon he presumably burns with it. Now, what are my thoughts on the animation? Well, since this is Richard Williams' style of animation we're talking about, even though the character designs look sometimes strange, the animation in this movie is very interesting, especially during the scene where Tack chases the thief through the palace hallways. Plus, I really like how the Golden City of Baghdad looks in this movie, including the fabled Hands of Glory. However, I've heard that several people don't like this movie due to it being pretty similar to Disney's Aladdin, but keep in mind, folks, that The Thief and the Cobbler has been in production long before Disney started production with Aladdin. Also, there are several scenes that are very memorable to me. For example, there is a scene where the thief spreads his arms out like Chernabog from Fantasia, while holding on to 2 golden leaves before jumping off the Hands of Glory, trying to fly airplane-styled in order to steal a ruby. And there's the scene where the thief tries to steal the 3 golden balls from the palace tower, as well as the scene during the film's climax where he tries to retrieve the balls from One-Eye's war machine. And now let's move on to the songs in the movie. And in total, there are 3 songs featured here. The first song in the film is She Is More, sung by Princess Yum Yum. This song was animated by Sullivan Bluth Studios. In my opinion, this is a very sympathetic song, with Yum Yum wishing to help her father and her kingdom. Next is the movie's love song, Am I Feeling Love, sung by Tack and Yum Yum. This song was animated by Kroyer Films. In my opinion, this is a sweet love song, and it feels very reminiscent to Far Longer Than Forever from The Swan Princess. The last song in the film is Bomb 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 Beam Bomb, or That's What Happens When You Don't Finish School, sung by a band of desert outlaws known as the Brigands. In my opinion, despite the fact that this song was not in the original cut of the movie, I think this song has a catchy beat to it. Plus, each verse talks about what the Brigands are and what they do out in the desert. So, now that we're done with Mustang notes, animation, and songs, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Let's start with Tack, a young orphan cobbler voiced by Matthew Broderick. Best known from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Disney's The Lion King, Inspector Gadget, and The Tale of Despereaux. And he'll be in the upcoming Wonder Park movie next spring. To me, Tack is a talented cobbler. He's also very shy and very quiet, but he's also very brave. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Tack slingshots a Tack right into the flank of Zigzag's horse, which starts a fire on King One-Eye's war machine. Our next character is the Thief, whose voice is provided by the late Jonathan Winters. Best known from Alice in Wonderland from 1985, The Wish That Changed Christmas, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Santa vs. the Snowman, and of course, the live-action Smurfs movies. As Tack stated while narrating the movie, the thief is a man of few words but many thoughts. So, in other words, mostly throughout this movie, he speaks in his head. In my opinion, the thief is a daring character. Plus, he's very funny with all the antics he gets into. However, I can't believe he managed to get Tack into trouble with Zigzag twice in the movie. Once, by snooping around Tack's cobbler shop and getting tangled up in his stitching, which causes his Tack to fall into the streets, and the other time while Tack was chasing the thief through the palace, trying to get Yum Yum's shoe back. Next we have the beautiful Princess Yum Yum, voiced by Jennifer Bales, who you may remember from the movie Flashdance. To me, Yum Yum is a sweet character. In the beginning of the movie, she takes an instant liking to Tack. Before Zigzag can convince King Nod to have Tack executed, Yum Yum saves Tack by breaking one of her shoes and ordering Tack to fix it. While repairing her shoe, Tack and Yum Yum become increasingly attracted to each other. You know, I like the part where Yum Yum asks Tack to be her guide while she journeys to the Hands of Glory in order to save her kingdom. Next we come to Yum Yum's father, King Nod, voiced by Clive Rivel, who got to be a soldier messenger in Disney's Return to Neverland, a sorcerer blowfish in the Little Mermaid TV series, and narrated Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. Now, King Nod is a tad sleepy during the first part of the movie, but after seeing a vision of his kingdom getting destroyed by the One-Eyes in his nightmares, and after the 3 golden balls have been stolen, Nod is in desperation, thinking of a way to defend his kingdom. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he tells Yum Yum about the Hands of Glory, and the scene where Nod dismisses Zigzag after he attempts to use the stolen balls to blackmail the king into letting him marry Yum Yum. Next we come to Chief Ruthless, the leader of the brigands, voiced by Windsor Davies. As mentioned earlier, during their song, they ambush anyone who passes through their territory. But after Princess Yum Yum declares Ruthless and his men as her royal guards, they become decent supporting characters, like when they carry our main characters back to Baghdad on their shoulders. Next we come to the evil sorcerer, Zigzag, the king's Grand Vizier, voiced by the late, great Vincent Price. Best known from Rankin Bass's Here Comes Peter Cottontail, The Great Mouse Detective, Edward Scissorhands, and several horror movies. Plus, he got to be the ghost host in the Phantom Manor at Disneyland Paris. Now, while it is sad that this was Vincent Price's last movie he ever acted in before his death, I think his role as Zigzag is very sinister. I mean, think about it. Vincent is awesome when it comes to playing villains. Anyway, in this story, Zigzag attempts to marry Princess Yum Yum to become king of the Golden City. Later, after King Nod dismisses him, Zigzag teams up with King One-Eye to take over the Golden City by force. Although he describes himself as a sorcerer, his magic is fairly delicate and weak, and he occasionally slips up on his tricks. He relies more on smooth talking and manipulation to get what he wants, as well as dazzling people with an impressive performance to convince them that he is more powerful than they think. We also have Fido, Zigzag's pet vulture, voiced by Eric Bogosian. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Throughout the movie, Fido is abused and neglected by Zigzag, barely being fed by the sorcerer. In the end, following the defeat of King One-Eye, Fido is able to grasp his freedom by joining a bunch of alligators in a pit to get back at Zigzag, who he once considered to be his best friend before being eaten alive. Next up is the mighty King One-Eye, voiced by Kevin Dorsey. Now, in my opinion, One-Eye is much more threatening than Zigzag. He is tyrannical, authoritative, clamorous, cocky, and demanding towards his subjects, and will stop at nothing to achieve full worldwide domination. He's also shown to be a sadistic psychopath, as he stood on top of a pile of corpses to mark his previous victory, and subjected his slave women to form themselves into a throne for comfort, even furiously ordering King Nod's treacherous vizier Zigzag to ride at the front of his war machine during the invasion, much to Zigzag's discomfort. Next we have Princess Yum Yum's nurse, Nanny, voiced by Toni Collette, who voiced Madame Musset in the fourth American Tail movie, and she got to be in the Box Trolls and Krampus. To me, Nanny is a sweet and kind woman, while she looks after Yum Yum, that is, but she can be pretty tough when she beats up the thief and later a few of the brigands. Youch! Don't want to mess with this lady. Toni Collette also provides the voice for the mad and holy old witch. According to King Nod, the witch is One-Eye's twin sister, a bearer of his other eye, only she uses hers for good forces. The witch lives on top of the Hands of Glory. When Tak and Yum Yum ask for her help, the witch says some kind of riddle, which Tak later figures out during the final climax. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, The Thief and the Cobbler is a terrific and imaginative movie, and I'm glad that Richard Williams and his team of animators put in all their hard work to make this movie. Plus, like most non-Disney animated films from the 90s, it's an underrated classic, even though it went through some re-editing a few times. But still, with the Miramax version, Tak is a brave hero, the thief is daring, and Yum Yum is a sweet and beautiful character. Zigzag is a twisted and manipulative sorcerer, though King One-Eye is more threatening than him. Also, the songs, in my opinion, are very underrated. Plus, there are plenty of moments in this movie that you'll find very amusing and humorous. So, my rating for this movie will be 100%. Yes, it's not exactly perfect to some of you, but it's still a good movie in my opinion. So, here's to 300 blogs, and hopefully 100 more to come. Mustang power!
bum ba beam bum booly booly bibbidi boo.